Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the hottest marriage show in town. I am John David Lewis, aka Too Much, and this is my better half, aka Do. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
How's your morning going thus far?
It's going great.
What's so great about it?
Today is our son's 13th birthday. We have only teenagers in the house now. And he still will let me hug and he cuddles me like he was my baby.
So what makes it great though? Like having teenagers, is it like 1 year closer to out of the house?
No,
So what?
I don't look forward to that type of stuff. It's been another year I've had with him.
I can dig that.
He's a special kid. All of our kids are special, but he has his own unique way.
Unique way of what?
I don't know, challenging us to think, and like Day challenges us to think about, I don't know, being good to people. And Dallas challenges you to think about like the earth and and to him it's so easy to think about, I think I want to be president, and I think I want to do, when I'm president I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that, and it seems so easy to him. Like life doesn't seem like it's a struggle for him. You know what I'm saying? And I love that about him because it makes him so free to think about what he's willing to do. Like I remember when people used to say, stop asking your kids what they want to be when they grow up. Ask them what problem they want to solve. He's always been a kid who was trying to solve a problem.
Yeah.
And, he's just, I love my kids for their uniqueness. His uniqueness, it makes me hopeful for the world.
Definitely that. I mean, so crazy. Like he seems so much more mature.
Yeah.
In so many aspects. But happy birthday, Dallas. And whenever you do listen to this, know that we were definitely thinking about you. But the topic that I was kind of thinking about, I was kind of like iffy about it because I kind of know some standpoints of how you feel, but I do know there are certain things where you have extreme empathy for it. Okay. But I wanted to talk about how the narration of the LGBTQ plus community can control the narration of what could be canceled. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because I don't think it's fair that, that when we talk about issues that happen, that we blame a whole community because I don't even know if they stick together, but people make it seem like they stick together. And so therefore, whenever something happens, the whole community gets attacked. And I wanted to talk about that because I don't think that's fair. And I know it has a lot to do with our community because we feel like everybody cares about every other community but our own. But I wanted to see what have you thought about, like, over the course of time to this point where you can say something and people feel like they think that people have the ability to actually cancel you. And maybe I don't understand that, but when I hear cancel, I mean it's over. Like you have to come back and recreate yourself. But I see people get canceled and they come back like in the next week or something.
Right.
I don't understand it.
Well, I guess there are two ways that I'm thinking about when you're posing this to me. I don't know if you're saying they have the power to cancel people.
Do you think, because people say that they do. I don't believe it.
Say that their community has the ability to cancel.
Yeah, and I don't believe it. Like it was like, oh my God, they said this, and then the LGBTQ plus community decided to do this, and now they're canceled. Like with the baby situation, or even with Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, I don't know much about baby. So
the baby.
Okay, the baby. I don't know much about the grown man that is called the baby, or what the circumstances were behind his cancellation. even with Dave Chappelle, I remember watching that show, and I can't quite remember what might have taken him over the edge. Like,
what do you mean take him over? What did
made it where they were they were upset with him. Like, I remember the show, but I don't remember much about it. I guess every community, depending on how loud you can get, has the ability to cancel someone within their culture if they choose to. Like, I know we've canceled Chrisette Michelle when my girl sang at that Trump inauguration. People, look, I love Chrisette Michelle. My girl sang on, what was she on? Rick Ross's song, not Maybach Music. Dun, 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 dun. What is that song? Music. I can't remember.
I know
that
what
song,
you're talking about.
but I love that song.
Yeah.
And I loved one of her albums. I was really into her, and then she did that, and everybody was like, "Cancel Chrisette." Now, truthfully, I was like, "What are you doing, Chrisette?" But I'm not. It takes a lot for me to feel like cancel somebody and completely do away with them. I think our community has canceled some people.
No, we haven't.
Yeah,
every person you think of, I can tell you that they haven't.
Well, I think the same thing with the LGBT community, and when they cancel someone, like, they can cancel within their culture if they want, but really it's going to be a certain group within their culture. There are going to be other people that'll be like, I don't really care. There are people still bumping R. Kelly.
That's what I was about to say. Like,
so
when you say our culture, like, can you really say our culture? Because it's not, because there's no box that we have that everybody said. You see what I'm saying?
I mean, I think that people I think with social media, you're able to, like, amplify certain messages and make it sound like it's bigger than what it is. Truthfully, it could be a handful of people in the grand scheme of things of that entire community that say, I'm so offended by what you said, and cancel them. And everybody else is like, we don't care.
I think, I don't know who I was talking to, but they were talking about how it's comedy, it's an art, and you guys are putting limitations on an art. If somebody drew a painting of black men getting hung by Ku Klux Klansmen with people in the background watching, nobody's gonna say, "Oh, that was a disrespectful piece of art." You know what I'm saying? It was just showing what through their eyes. So when comedians speak, that's their story, and they're able to put a twist on it. But I would like to believe that the people that are offended in the jokes, they have their own insecurities, and they haven't dealt with them, so they would rather put their insecurities on somebody else who's talking about them. Now, when I say that, before you say, I don't want to say that people should get hurt. Mm-hmm. But you shouldn't look for somebody to disrespect you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I wouldn't necessarily frequent events for certain people who present a certain comedy that I don't like.
Correct.
But I do like, I don't know, there's some comedy that I can laugh at, and I'll be like, you know what? Let it have come out of somebody else's mouth, and I would have wanted to fight you.
See, that's what I'm saying. So you're there's no different from the LGBT.
It's not the joke. It's the messenger sometimes. Like, because you could say, okay, if I have a joke and if I hear a joke about here's one. Patrice O'Neal. I love Patrice O'Neal, right? So Elephant in the Room, his stand-up, when he was talking about top shelf white women, right? Now, if there was a white comedian that was talking about top shelf white woman and then saying, we ain't looking for you, black woman, but this white woman right here, this top shelf, we would look for her. You know what I'm saying? That joke, I looked at him like, I will punch you in your teeth. But at the same time, I know our community and the jokes and the the historical value we've placed on what he was saying wasn't a lie. But if it were somebody else who had delivered that joke, I'd have been like, look, you don't degrade the.
So it's really not a joke then. Like
it really wasn't. But I think that some comedians just draw attention to like real life, and then they make you laugh at it because it sounds ridiculous when they say it, but we actually live this life. So if it were like I said, I don't really recall what exactly Dave Chappelle said. I don't know what the baby said. But if it were somebody within their community that was making a joke similar to that and talking about it, it would not have, I don't think it would have pulled out as much outrage because it's you talking about your own community.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, now the baby, I don't want to get what he said wrong, but his view, I can kind of sum it up in my perspective. He gave a traditional view of a community that we grew up on, like man, Adam and Eve type thing, and not Madam and Eve, or
that's a new one, Adam and Weve.
Yeah, or Madam and Eve, or Madam and Eve and Adam and Steve. Yeah, so
yeah.
It was more so like we were put on this earth to procreate. And if you do this, then I don't mess with you, to that degree. Like, now he didn't say it anywhere remotely close to that, but that's what I got. And the reason why I say I got it like that, because I remember growing, like I told you, my father was like, you can bring home anything you want as long as I ain't a man. So if I was homosexual, I couldn't bring that home to my father. So being that I wasn't homosexual, it was easier for me to, live the life that I lived, but it was easier for me to make jokes also. Because I thought it was okay. But
okay.
Yeah. I will say though, when I was making jokes, it was literally for fun. It wasn't that I was thinking it was going to hurt somebody's feelings.
I don't think comedians be like, I want to tear this community up, so let me go and say this. I think that, people are speaking according to their knowledge base and their belief system and what they feel is okay and not okay. And some people say stuff for shock value. I understand that. But I don't know if people go out and they just be like, you know what? I really want to damage someone today, so I'm going to say this. I think that they don't put as much value on something, and they feel like it's easier to joke about it because it's not that serious, because it don't have to do with them. Like,
so it's a level of etiquette in comedy that most people are looking for. Like, if you're going to talk about my community, then you can't say these things.
You gotta be careful. Yeah, but if it's us, then we get to be more racy when we're a part of the community. Like, even like when things are not, and I can't even say that because I'm sure he has friends that are a part of the community or whatever. But I know that growing up, we used to talk about, because it was the idea that, heterosexuality was normal and anything other than was abnormal. It was, some people would say it was wrong. Some people would say they attached a lot of words to it. But I'm going to tell you what, the older I got and the more that I had cousins who were, coming out and making our family aware of who they loved and how they loved, it was like, it was certain things people couldn't say around me no more. Like, because to me.
So what do you mean? Like,
because before it's removed from me. Like, it's a people, yes, but there are ideas that I was taught about it, and so I minimized it. I minimized that entire
the community.
Yeah, I minimized the community. To me, it was like,
I got it.
Almost make believe, because I didn't know anyone like that. So then it was like, it wasn't that important. When people made a joke, I was like, oh, ha, ha, ha. But as soon as I realized, like, okay, once I learned outside of the messages that were taught to me about this community, when you don't have anybody attached to it, this community is just an idea. You don't even know these people. You haven't been around them. And then you realize you've been around them all your life. And then it's like, wait a minute. So for a kid, it can seem like not to be disrespectful, but it could seem like make-believe, like a cartoon, like Tom and Jerry, you know, oh, this community, I have no connection or understand. I've never seen, y'all have said this, and every time you've said it, you've either said something that's negative or it's a joke. And so that's how I take it. But as soon as I can acknowledge that, wait, these are actual, like, I've met these people, I've grown, all of the things that you've said, all of that now, it has a whole different meaning to me, because now I understand, growing into being an adult, that this isn't something, it's not something you make fun of. These are some people.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? And so then it becomes different. And so there's
How old were you when you started to make a conscious effort to say, hey, maybe what we were doing was wrong?
I was in middle school.
Oh.
I remember growing up, though, I had a cousin that it was clear from the very moment that he was speaking, walking, and speaking his you know, his mind, that he was not
what we would anticipate what a man would look like, or a boy.
Right. What we grew up thinking.
Yeah, correct.
However, we didn't know that was what it was. That was just our cousin. So you didn't think anything of it. When I went to middle school, we had a friend and her cousin moved into town, and he started going to our school, and his mannerisms just like my cousin, right? But I was interacting with him not just at a family reunion or just hanging out or whatever. I was interacting with him day in and day out. We were talking about the same things. He was very expressive. And so then I started to learn from an adolescent standpoint, oh, okay, so he likes boys. Okay, well, cool. And then it was like, if anybody said anything about him, it was like, hold on. Like, I know you ain't talking about him, because he was one of ours, right? And so then it was like any joke somebody made, it was like, hold on. And I think as we got older, well, definitely as I got older, it stopped being, you can't talk about my friend or my cousin. Now it was like, don't talk about people like that. Because it was like the whole community, like, I don't want to hear that mess, because it's not right. You know what I'm saying? My mindset of this idea of a community that didn't seem real to me as a little kid. It was just ideas that people were putting in my head, like expanded to my family and then my friends. And then it stopped being individuals and it started being a whole community. And it was like, okay, y'all got to chill out. But I was like that because there were people I loved, and it became like, just like we were talking about implicit bias and how you eliminate your biases, and it's like you start to look at your friend and you say, okay, well, to push back those stereotypes or whatever, you'll say, well, I know such and such, she's a black woman, and to simplify this really easily, she's a master diver. You know, black people do swim. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it was like that. It's like, okay, then I started looking at, when I went to church, there was somebody, I absolutely loved him. Well, I love him still. And even though, you know, there's always that mask of everyone knows, but nobody says anything, because in the church, you're not supposed to be homosexual, but we all loved him across the board. So nobody really acknowledged that part. It's like my idea of this community became more and more real to me, and more emotions were attached to it. And so then my standards of what you could say about that person around me changed. However, I do recognize that in comedy, there are some comedians that really push the envelope, and they say things that some people are hurt by. But I don't think that it's across the board in that community everybody is as offended. I just think that now with social media, you can make your voice 100 times louder than it would have been before. And so, yeah, now it can seem like it's outrage across a large group. But if I ask everybody in the community, is it even something that they cared about? It's just like, you know, some people if they say something that's derogatory toward black people, I'll be like, that was not right. But I'm not gonna sit there and try to cancel you, because guess what? I'll be canceling a whole bunch of people in this world, and I don't have the energy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's to each his own how they want to address that. But as far as canceling, it's gonna be people that want to cancel Dave Chappelle. It's gonna be people that don't even care.
Yeah, I get it. I
and that's
guess
why it doesn't stick.
the reason why I wanted to hear from you, because I know this could be a sensitive subject to like a lot of people, and the reason why I thought it would be great, because I know that if I back you in a corner of uncomfortableness, that you're able to respond in a way, and plus we're recording, we can stop.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about the number of men that I've associated myself with. When I grew up, like I knew who was gay, the ones that were flamboyant. So those people definitely ended up coming out. But other ones I didn't know. But you know, it's so crazy. I remember I've had gay friends, but they didn't know they were gay at the time. And
they didn't know?
Well, they didn't let the world know.
Yeah,
they were too young. They were trying to imitate heterosexuals.
Yeah.
And absolutely. They were like, I'm going to get a girlfriend. No, you're not. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're getting a girlfriend because you don't want people to, show all that. Yeah, target.
Yeah, I got you.
So now, as I've matured as an adult, and when I say that, I mean, like, I can honestly say I haven't had a problem with gay people since I was like really little. And it was like the shallowest idea. It was just because of what my father said. But after you meet people, you still say sad things, but you grow out of it. Well, I did. But I recognize a lot of my peer group didn't grow out of it. They really felt like that it's unacceptable. But then this is the craziest thing. Now, I have lived in a lot of places, but I have so many married men that have kids that either ended up coming out, or they flirt with that lifestyle. And the reason why I'm saying this is because it just shows you that you believe in what you're taught, and you never thought about it until you're in a situation to think like, maybe that ain't the right thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
once it's in your house.
And you're correct. So when you get closer to it, it allows you to think like, is this the right thing?
Well, and I think that, and instead of saying flirting with that lifestyle, I would think like exploring their sexuality.
Well, when I say flirt, I'm talking about where people be like, hey, what are they doing over there? Like when you think like, because there are people that just have regular mannerisms and possibly don't. So I'm just saying it as far as our perspective, the people that believe that they're heterosexual.
Okay.
Now we're looking at people and we're like, okay, yeah, it's a possibility.
Well, you know what's interesting, and we talked about this a while ago. So this is, and you'll remember, this is one of the things I love about my job. My job, a portion of it is focused on health equity, period. And so I've learned so much over the last couple of years. And I remember, what was it? Maybe it wasn't long after I started the job. There was a lot of work. There's a lot of health disparities in the LGBTQ community, QA plus community, just because people don't know the right terminology in order to speak to them. And they don't know, there are some people who have their own hangups, so they're not comfortable with treating them. And sometimes it's in that community. It's a lot of things. And so one of the things they put me on was this webinar called Being Basic. And it was about inclusivity in the LGBTQIA plus population. And I apologize. So this was so interesting to me because we grew up and there was a man and there was a woman, or a boy and a girl, and you liked the opposite. That was how it was taught, right? But when they started you know, when you grow up, you hear people exploring about their sexuality, or you have that uncle that always had that roommate or aunt or whatever. And excuse me, we never really acknowledge that things don't have to look like either this or that and just be this clean definition, right? We're complex, we're humans or whatever. And when I was learning in this webinar, it really got me to thinking about myself as an entire person, my experiences in college, my kids, what they're experiencing, what they're thinking. And the webinar just allowed me to like learn more about the difference between your sex, your gender identity, your gender expression, and then your sexual orientation. Now, everybody thinks it's like two things. It's male, female, and homosexual, heterosexual. That's the most basic of the basic from generations back. But it's so much more. And so first they talked about your biological sex is what they look at when they're trying to figure out what your genitalia says you are. Any hormones you may have, or, you know, so what I can see biologically that's being expressed, that's what I'm gonna say your biological sex is, if you're a girl or a boy, male, female, or whatever. And so you're assigned according to what people see. So then when you get into gender identity, that's based on how that person, regardless of what you see, how they identify themselves. So it could be a man or a woman, or it could be non-binary, where they don't necessarily say that they're one or the other. And a lot of this, we have to think about, you know, what are the social definitions of what a man and a woman are. And sometimes people don't feel like they fit in one or the other. But it's not new though, because in Native Americans, they've been two-spirited. In Southeast Asia, I think it's called Hijra. Like, there are people who have been non-binary before this, so we act like this is all brand new, but this stuff has shown up in other places.
You know, I want you to continue, but just what you said, you named two groups of people that are probably a lot older than the Western culture.
Right.
So if they say that this is what it's going to be, those two cultures that you name doesn't even make sense to us.
I know, but the thing is that we act like stuff is brand new, but it's not.
Well, you have to be interested in finding out that what we learned, was it a lie? Like, you got to think that for you to be going to this. Like, if you don't question it.
I think that what we've learned is people, like, you know how you see the book, like you could search anything and then put for dummies, and it's like a book on it. So you could say vegan food for dummies, you know, vegan eating for dummies or whatever. I think that we got people for dummies, sexual interactions or relationships for dummies, because I think they dumbed it down to make it very, very clean and easy. You just pick left or right.
I know, but to me, that's you're dumbing it down to the point where you don't realize how complex it is.
Right. So let me tell you. So when we got into gender expression, so they were talking about gender expression and how, you know, you have women who are feminine and they like men, or they're feminine and they like women. You got women who are masculine and they can like men. They just express that way. Or they can be masculine and like women, and vice versa with men. So in your gender expression, that's just how you express yourself. Your haircut, whether or not you wear makeup, do you want to wear a skirt? Do you like how I look? And it doesn't necessarily mean who I want to be with. Like, these are all different parts, but we made it all one part, right? And then, and the thing that got me, and this is the thing that made me sit here and think about, everybody as they're exploring their sexual orientation, it was talking about how you can be, there's a difference between your attractions. You can be sexually attracted to someone and not romantic or emotionally attracted. So I could be attracted to men and women and want to have sex with both, but I only want to romantically be involved in or like have relationships with a man. Or it could be that I love to have really intimate and romantic and emotional connections with men and women, but I only want to have sex with men. That's my only sexual attraction.
But it's so complex, they're going to just say you're bi.
Yeah.
So they already
okay, you doing all of that, you just bi.
Yeah.
But then there are people, and you know what, I didn't understand in the beginning, but there were some people that was like, no, I'm not bisexual.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they had broke it down in that webinar, and they were like, look, there could be people that you look at and you be like, oof, I would love to do whatever with them. But if you had sex with them and they're like, you know, what are our next steps? And you be like, nothing. Like, this is all I want. You know what I'm saying? And so,
depending on what you're looking for, if like we said earlier, I think we said earlier, like if you don't tell people what you want, you're just hoping that they're going to give you what you want.
Well, and then it makes me think about, it's this girl I follow on Instagram. I think it's called the Polyamorous Fairy or something like that. And so she talks about how we've grown up with this idea that we're in relationships and this person is mine and I am this person and you know, I'm their person and there's no real ownership. And if you weren't taught that you had to be in a relationship with just one person, then like, would there really be all of that hurt around
Correct.
cheating?
Yeah.
Or would you have a more fulfilling life because you are in relationships with people who fulfill so many of your wants, but not all of them. But this other person fills that space and you can't have them because in this world we're monogamous.
Because of the lifestyle that we've been taught.
Yeah.
It's monogamous.
So some people prefer monogamy. To them is easier. The boundaries are set. When you add other people in, it can be messy unless those other people understand.
Yeah.
But because we don't really explore that and we've been taught that it has to go this particular way, nobody is really learning. We already don't know how to really set healthy boundaries in a monogamous relationship. Imagine if you threw 2 or 3 more people into the set.
If I can say, honestly, I think the monogamous relationship in the Western world made it difficult because they thought it would be easy. But like you said earlier, when you push everybody in one thing, you're going to find people who resist. And then as you continue to go on, people start saying, hey, I don't feel like that. Mm-hmm. Like, why are you guys making me feel like I'm supposed to feel this way? Mm-hmm. So as time goes on, people are starting to use their voice.
Yeah.
And I was just about to say how even now with the Black man population of friendships that I've acquired over my long journey of life, that I can see that men who are very open-minded versus very closed-minded. And the problem I'm having with the whole thing is that the ones who are closed-minded, and when I say closed-minded, it's because they were taught that. And they haven't said, hey, what if I was taught wrong? Because I feel like this. When I learned that maybe the information that I got was wrong, I felt like I became a better person because then I stopped isolating people and targeting. I'm like, man, you know what I'm saying? So it made me more empathetic toward anybody I looked at.
Yeah, I think when you realize that, when you acknowledge that people are complex, then it makes you a lot better as a person because no one wants to feel isolated away from their family. Like what you were saying, people who have children or family members that are their sexual orientation is not heterosexual. They're you know, they may be any other part of that the LGBTQ community. It's like it makes you uncomfortable. That don't have nothing to do with you. Humans are complex.
It's because we believe what we were taught is right.
Yeah, and it's okay to want to live your life like that. I mean, it's okay to be monogamous, to be heterosexual, to be
Christian.
For your gender expression to match societal
that's the reason
guidelines of what gender is. It's
gender
okay.
was off of Christianity because of the Bible. It's in the Bible.
I don't know.
I'm saying like, that's the way that I learned when I was growing up. in the church, it was a sin to do anything outside of heterosexual. So that's what I'm saying. Western world is driven off of Christianity. So they automatically put us in a box because it was related to God.
Okay.
The way that I grew up on it.
Okay. But I can't necessarily say that it's the religion itself that set these guidelines.
I'm talking about the people who taught the religion.
Well, and yeah, I think that anybody can take a text and make it what they want it to be.
Did you grow up differently?
That's one of my biggest concerns with, well, I've talked to people before and I'm like, the Bible was translated how many times over? And we all know that every word can't be directly translated from one language to another. So some things were filled in that didn't necessarily match the original intent of the author. And we also know that historically, text has been changed based on kings who wanted a certain message to be put across to, their subjects. And so I don't, when I'm thinking of it across the board. Whether you're Christian or not, everybody kind of fell up under this. Like we all started falling up under the boy girl expectations, your gender roles and all that other stuff. We all fell under that.
Who's we?
I'm saying the majority of the world, when they express on, like, when everybody understands, like, people don't understand us in a more complex light, but everyone has the understanding of what we mean when we say male, female, girl, boy. You know what I'm saying? Everybody understands. It's like the universal fact that everybody tried to pass along across the world. So if I ask somebody in another country of another language, this, do you understand what I mean when I say girl or boy or man or woman? They're going to say yes, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't understand that there are other,
I understand. I got you.
So that's what I'm saying. But what I am saying is, that really, to be able to look at people and how science defines them, how they define themselves, how they choose to dress or express themselves, who they choose to love, who they choose to engage in sex with, all of these things can be different.
Yeah.
It's all a mix. And when I started learning this, and like I said, my understanding, and it just continued to evolve from my childhood up until now. And it just makes it easier for me to look at my world and be like, we're just all people just walking around trying to be happy. And it's people literally standing in the way saying, no, don't be fully happy though, only here.
But I think the people that says don't be fully happy is because they weren't allowed to be fully happy. And they said, look, I had to follow these rules too. Like, you gonna, yeah. So look, this is
and why are you making it hard for me? I don't want to learn.
Yeah. So
all of this stuff.
I was just thinking about, depending on where you grow up, gay could look different. And this is the honest to God truth. Like, I told my wife, I was like, I've thought about being a gay, and it's gay.
Being a gay?
No. When I say that, I mean, like, it's not in my interest.
Okay, so you thought about whether or not you would be sexually attracted to a man. There we go.
So this. Okay, so yeah, I'm glad you clarified that. Okay. So this is what I've actually thought about it. And because I wanted to be completely honest with myself, because if I can say I've thought about it, then I can know that I can tell my wife I'm being completely honest with you. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's just a different level of acceptance. So there's nothing about a man that I'm attracted to other than I can say that, hey, that's a good looking man, and I can see why women are attracted to him. Mm-hmm. But outside of that, I don't really feel comfortable with just bear with me.
I'm listening. Mm-hmm.
I don't like, being touched other than a hug.
Right.
And the reason why I'm saying this is because depending on where you are, gay could look different. I remember, when Pink used to be only for girls, and then I remember Cameron in the hip hop community made it like it just kind of what is it called when you it didn't allow people to think that it was gay anymore. It was cool.
Well, it's not feminine.
It wasn't
that it was gay.
Yeah. So but it was always, the way that I grew up, pink was related to a girl, because just like when you're born pink and blue. So
right.
So this is what I'm saying.
I remember when he wore that pink. People are
and
like,
then it just changed. So now you can see people in pink, and you don't even think of homosexuality.
No,
you know
but
what I'm saying?
before it was like, why are you wearing a pink shirt? Yeah.
So check this out.
Yeah.
So I remember telling you. I remember sitting at a bar with a young lady, and we were conversing, and she thought I was gay. And I was like, why would you think I was gay? And she was like, men don't talk like you. I was like, how do I talk? She was like, you actually are asking how I'm doing and what's going on in my life. And I'm like, what do you mean men do that? She was like, I don't know. It's just a certain way. You seem really concerned. And I was like.
And that's interesting that a gender could be assigned with like only being sexually driven.
Yeah. That you know, and it made me think like, the type of conversations that I have with people, because I really do have a genuine, like, I feel like I've always felt like if I'm talking to you that it was valuable time. So why not give you, I don't, you know, it's just weird.
Well, you know, even when you could say, and this is something with dating, because it can be very different for men and women, is being able to be like, are you sexually attracted to, you know, men or women? Are you romantically attracted to? It reminds me of this show. What was it called? It wasn't called Married at First Sight. What was it called? Love at First Sight? Blind? I can't remember, but I definitely watched it on Netflix. So it was this black woman and this black man. And you also have to think about the whole intersectionality of it all, because intersectionality means that you're not just a part of one community. So people who are part of the LGBTQIA plus community and they're black, they're a part of two communities. They are a cross point, right? Because they identify in both of those communities. And so it's this black man and this black woman. And they talk through a wall and they don't see each other. They just talk through a wall. And then if they decide, then the man or the woman proposes. And then they only see each other once they have agreed to get married. And then they get to meet in person. So it allows you to kind of not look at their gender expression. You don't look at their race. You don't talk about that type of stuff. Any of those identifiers. It's strictly who you are. And so this black guy and this black woman, they decide to get married. And she's like really enjoying him. But it does seem kind of odd. Like their interaction seems a little odd to me, but it's whatever. And so at one point, he told her, I just feel like I need to tell you this. I have had sex with a man before. I've had sex with men before. And it threw her. First of all, it bothered her because she heard about it after she had accepted the engagement. And whether or not someone chooses to disclose before or after, that's not for me to say. But
was that question asked before?
And then that's the question. And it might have just been the assumption. You know, you walked in and you just thought. But, you know, his thing was romantically, he was into her. And sexually, he would have sex with women. But he's had sex with men before as well. And I don't know if he's had romantic attractions. But it's like, people are complex.
They are.
You know, and really the only people that are allowed to be even partially complex are women, because in a man's world, they love the idea of having another woman involved. Mm-hmm. Like, oh yeah, you like women. What if I like women, but only when it's just women and women? I mean, I don't want us all to be together. You know what I'm saying? And then there's the other thing. So
it's more and more complex.
Yeah. But it's just, I think that I just feel that we make it seem like it's simple and it's not. And we get mad about people wanting us to learn those parts. Like, why?
Yeah.
To me, it allows everyone else to be even more of themselves, or just understand themselves even more, if they understand that it's not just one or two, it's not just two boxes to check. It's like a multitude of boxes to check. And being able to acknowledge that, like, to me, if our kids grew up and they identified as anything other than cisgendered, heterosexual, I want them to already know that's like, okay, so what? You know what I'm saying? But if I don't if I make it seem like it's bothering me that I got to learn this stuff, like how comfortable can they be around me?
Yeah. I wouldn't be I mean, just think about how comfortable you were with you had a good relationship with your mother, but she didn't make you feel comfortable enough to be able to talk about those things.
Oh, well, shoot. When I was talking about sex, I was like, disclosing, I first started considering sex at 13. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
13-year-old, and you ain't supposed to, but your peer, and it's all kinds of things going on. So there were a lot of things that I didn't know that I could. I was too young to be even able. If you can't even talk about it, you shouldn't even be doing it yet. But I was too young to get my head wrapped around it to even discuss with my mom.
Yeah.
But learning all of this stuff now, what I'm saying is that I continue to learn more about myself, and I'm learning more about the world that my kids are growing up in. So I know what they're seeing, what they're learning, and then I can help
as best as we can.
Yeah. I can help them explore so that they fully know who they are. Because, it's a lot of people that are depressed and worse because they feel boxed in. I don't ever want to be the source of that.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that, to circle back around to what we were talking about before, if I understand it and I'm able to relate in the sense of saying I understand how these are complex parts and how I fit in it, then it makes it a more comfortable environment for my kids to be around. And when I hear people joking about it, I don't just brush it off because I understand that we're talking about humans.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we say a lot of stuff that I'll be looking at you sideways.
We're working.
Yeah,
we're
about
better.
Black people, and I'll be like, okay, let me get you to stop that too. So either way it goes, I just think that
just get better.
Yeah. You know what? I just keep learning about people that don't look like me or live like me. And what's so funny is you end up finding out how much they are
having
like
common. Yeah, for sure.
You're like, oh.
And you know what I want people to get from my take? When you gave me that, I was like, that information about I would have dated differently. I was pretty forward with what I wanted. But I think I could have eliminated a lot more wasted opportunities if I knew the type of questions to ask. And I think that the questions that I was asking then, people was like, why would you ask that? I was like, look, I'm not about to play this game. But the questions that you have now, if everybody, like I promise, if everybody used the information from this podcast when they're dating, they will be more successful with relationships than just going in and just going with your intent.
And when I say this is the most basic of the basic of the basic, like this is no expert explanation. It's just what I got from that.
It just sounds like common sense if you think about it. Like maybe I should ask people, do you like the things that I like?
Right.
Hey, I like these things. Do you? Because if not, we're wasting our time.
But I think that our generation I think that every generation explores their sexuality. And not just their sexuality, but just themselves far more than we did the generation before it. So because of that, I feel like it's necessary, if those things are important to you, like you care whether or not they had sex with the opposite sex before, they had relationships with the opposite, before, then, let those be questions. If you don't care, then they don't have to be questions. But
check this out. Some people think that they can do it. And then when they find out being like, I can't deal with it, like, you know what? You assumed. But if you like sometimes we have to think, what are we doing this for?
Yeah. But I think that now people are much more open to exploring themselves so that they know themselves. And I think that when you're going into the dating scene, which we are not in, however, when I think back to myself and I think about where our kids are going, I just hope that everybody understands that people have the right to explore whatever the hell they want to explore. And when they meet up with you, it's because they like you and they want to be with you. If you have a problem with it, then set that parameter or that boundary in the beginning, that these are the things that you need to know in order to know if you want to go forward. But also understand that, I mean, it's a high likelihood that you're going to meet someone who's stepped outside of the box 1, box 2.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, I just think that we need to truly ask ourselves those questions that we won't say out loud to ourselves and say, okay, do I really have time to be dealing with somebody who don't like this? Like,
right.
And the problem is that, and this is probably going to be seeming like hate, but for anybody who thinks it's hate, I'm protecting your mother, your wife, your girl, your daughter, your female cousins, but men in certain areas are just coming to conquer. It's not for anything else. And if there are men that's not coming to conquer, you will know. But I'm telling you, like, it's just the message it's missed. And I think that somebody's going to have to mature in the relationship to bring the other person up. So either it's women learning to ask better questions to these men because
to not waste their time,
or men are going to decide to say, hey, the information that I learned before wasn't right. How can I have a meaningful relationship instead of endangering myself of not being great?
That comes with a lot of maturity for
It
men
does,
to even feel like they're endangering themselves.
But I'm saying this podcast right here sparks conversations with hopefully people with their kids saying, look, you don't want to do that, because if you want to do this, this is just taking an opportunity away for you to not get there.
Yeah.
So
okay.
like as a parent, I think that we need to be more responsible in making sure our kids get there versus to telling them the safest way to get there.
Yeah.
Like by living reckless.
Right.
That's what I meant.
Oh yeah. Okay. I'm with you on that. I would like to, because the fear is in me. The fear is in me because terminal, and not fear. I just don't want to be offensive to anyone, because I want people to be mindful when they're talking. Like in a previous podcast, I was talking about how somebody was interviewing with me, and she was completely like, she was not paying attention to the fact that there was a black woman on that interview panel when she was talking. I want to be mindful that when people think that we're too soft, we try not to offend anybody. I mean, that's being a nice person. And so when I use certain terms, if I'm using it incorrectly, charge it to my head, not my heart. But really, I just want everybody to just understand that we're all living here. Mm-hmm. And I'm bothered when we hurt each other, and it's for no reason. Like you those slick ass comments you might say, they weren't even needed or necessary. It was just to be like, for whatever reason. So I'm just saying, when you learn more and you know more, you do better.
No. You have to actually make the effort, because I do know people who know better, but they haven't actually made the effort to doing it. Anyway.
Okay, well, I want you to learn more and
make the effort
and make the effort to do better, and just make it where people don't have to walk away from an interaction with you and feel like shit. That's
that would be the goal.
Please. And I feel like sometimes we're in a practice where we've been taught that certain populations or communities, they're more of a joke than anything, and so we just carry on with that. And black people, we've been the butt of a lot of people's jokes and ridicule, and so I feel like I understand, and I don't want to continue to perpetuate that type of behavior myself. I'm just hoping that though everybody is just better. Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right.
We hope that you got a little something from this, because I really think this could change the way that we see relationships. And it's been a complete pleasure. Anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah. So that there's a black woman. She's disabled. She has her own I've talked about this before. She has a line. It's on urevolution.com, I believe, that I searched for it. And it has apparel inclusivity that's focused on inclusivity. And so I ask that you all support her, because I think she's also neurodiverse as well. Oh, okay. And so I ask that you support her, and because I like her stuff. For sure.
I want to give a shout out to, again, all of you that tunes in to listen to what we got to talk about, things that we're trying to do to change the culture of our society. And when I say society, we're talking about mankind, specifically black folks, because we know that's the largest population of people. So
we got to rescript that culture.
We definitely do. We love you all. Be great on purpose.
Love you.
Boom.